Recording in progress.
And Elise, I'm really glad you're on because I was going to call you out today anyway. So perfect timing. Um, when I was reading this, I was kind of laughing a little bit because I'm the queen of mistakes. In fact, organization is not my strong suit. And I feel bad for Marissa and all the other girls on our team that thrive in an organized environment. That is not me. It is not my strength zone. In fact, one of the biggest kicks in the butt, and I love that he talked about this at one point. I can't remember where it was in chapter 7, but he talked about how you have to be open to people giving you constructive criticism, because I'll never forget Chandler telling me, Jordan, you cannot run an incentive and forget to send the incentive. And I was so embarrassed, and I was like, it's not intentional. It's my brain. I'm sorry. I had really good intentions. And so how did I fix it? I hired an assistant. I set an alarm on my phone to send incentive right that minute, because if I wait, I know myself. And so I love this because it takes a lot. It takes, can I say balls on the call? I don't know how to say it. It takes balls to be able to do what this is talking about and admit when you do stuff wrong. And so I made a list of some things that I have done, some mistakes that I have made, and I want to share them with y'all. And then I would love for you guys to share with me maybe some that you guys have made, and maybe they're not as big as these. I hope they're not. I don't know, probably are. Okay, so I have been on coaching calls and I was treating them like a red personality the whole time. Red personality, teaching you, trying to motivate them like red personalities. And you guys, they weren't me. Like I was just completely not even aware of the fact that other people were different than me. And so I was coaching people totally the wrong way, which is totally fine. You're going to do the same thing probably, and then you're going to figure it out. And that's why I loved this chapter so much, because it was all about figuring out the mistake and then learning from it. Yeah, I learned from it. Okay. I pushed some people away when I started because I was really trying to push them to diamond, and they didn't want to go to diamond. They wanted to be gold. They wanted to be silver. So anyway, there's one that I've done. Anybody here ever created a Zoom and showed up late to your own Zoom? I have done that. Okay. I have created Zooms and forgot to market them and then showed up and I was the only one there. Like, I promise you, it's coming. If it hasn't already, it's coming. I have done an incentive and forgot to send the incentive. Anybody here ever been absent with your team just a little bit too long? Like, you're like, okay, I really, like, on the irresponsible scale, I'm up there. And it just kind of makes you feel shame, and it makes you feel like all these feelings that are not great. Yeah, I've done that. And you guys, you just fix it. You admit it and then you fix it. We'll talk about that part in a minute. And then, I said I have given bad advice, and I'm not even going to give you one specific instance where I have given bad advice, but there's been plenty of times I have given poor advice. And so I just want y'all to know that you're in very good company. And the only way to get to diamond is to make these mistakes. Maybe yours are different than mine. The only way to get to diamond is to make them. And so, is anybody here want to admit a mistake that they have made? I know Megan will, and I know she has many, because all diamonds have many.
I will, because I also have many. But one that like really always stands out for me is coming into this business. I I always have been like a leader in all of the different parts of my life, and so I think I came in thinking like, oh, well, like as soon as I have a team, like I'll just know what to do and I'll just be a great leader. And so in the beginning, I wasn't like trying to raise up my leadership skills or my leadership lid. And so then I like hit the lid like hard. And it was like, oh, wow. Like yes, I can be a great leader and I have a lot of leadership skills and qualities, but like, I still need to constantly be working on it and growing it. So, yeah, that was a big mistake, was just coming in kind of cocky, like, well, I'm already a leader, so I'm just going to be great at this anyway. Big mistake.
And we're going to talk about this later too, Katie, because there is cockiness is a word we can use, but really we're just fronting. Like it's really is just like a front, like a security blanket for a lot of people. Oh, sweet girl. Anyway, okay, I love that. Anybody else want to share a mistake that you have made and then you're like, oh, I know my team saw that. I wish they didn't, but I know they did.
Did you see the perfectionism comment?
No, can you read it? I'm on my phone.
It says, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Good to know it's okay to blow it. Linda Lee said that, but I would resonate with that because I'm perfectionistic, and I think that there's times where sometimes there's like life stuff, the house is a wreck, whatever, but business stuff still has to get done. And so we can just spiral and buffer really in areas of our life or in our business where we're doing busy work, but we're not actually doing the work that's moving the needle forward because it's uncomfortable, we're procrastinating. And it's more satisfying, right? It gives the dopamine hit to like clean the kitchen or get all the laundry done. And then we say we'll do the stuff. But then sometimes, oops, we come to the end of the day, we're at a low energy time of day. We're like, don't want to do it. Right. And so I really resonate with the perfectionism thing and even comparison. And I think there was times in my business where I really compared myself to other leaders and even used a lot of other people's content, which isn't a bad thing, but I think our audience needs to hear it from our voice in our way, right? Or even feeling like I'm missing something, like training my team or whatever, instead of just like, well, what does my team need? Let me think about it. Let me pray about it. And then use my own God-given intuition to put out what I think my team needs instead of getting all the ideas from everybody else, getting an overwhelm, maybe doing nothing or doing something that ends up being kind of a flop or ineffective because it wasn't something my team needed at the moment, right? So tapping into that leadership intuition and also not being so perfectionistic that we can't get stuff done. We don't get the bottom line done, right?
Well, let's talk about perfection for a second. Perfection isn't attainable. It is not relatable, and it is definitely not duplicatable. And so if you are living in a space where you are trying to be perfect all the time, you guys, what message is that sending to your team? If you have a leader and they are perfect, you see them in the perfect light, they never mess up, they make the best posts, they always look perfect on social media, what message does that send you? I'm just curious. I would love for y'all to unmute. How does that make you feel? Haley said that you need to be perfect too.
I think it makes you feel like you're completely unattainable. Like it's like I've had people say, I can't do what you do. Like totally unattainable. Like you if you come across that perfect. I loved how John Maxwell said that he fails at so many areas. And it's like, oh yeah. But unattainable. It makes people feel like they can't, why try?
Yeah.
I think the same thing too, and even just in terms of like social media, like if you're only posting the perfectly edited photos and you're not ever doing any like behind the scenes, this is my real life, like, then I think that you have to be perfect and all done up and all ready to go at all times in order to work this business. And that turns me off, which is like one of the reasons probably why I'm even here, because like Jordan, you're in my upline and you are so like me, just real and authentic and like don't brush your hair or teeth probably half the time and and like so that makes it so real. And it was like I didn't think that I had to be perfect in order to do this or like constantly posting perfect photos in order to do this, because yeah, it's totally unattainable if you think that you always have to have your hair and makeup done, which is why like I don't work for a makeup business.
Amen to that. How does this look? And if somebody else wants to share on that, please do in just 1 second. But how does that look for our teams when it comes to team chats? You always have the answer. You always have the thing to say. If you always are right, how does that affect your team? What do they see?
I feel like I'm talking a lot, but it's like they think that they have to always have the answer, right? And like then they feel inadequate. And it's the same thing like when we're even just like prospecting someone, like if we always have the answer for them, then they're never going to think that they could do the business because they're like not it's so hard to like hold back when you know the answer, but that is like why we have people go search for it, right?
Yeah. And if you're always the one, so here, what rank are y'all? We all drop your rank really fast in, actually, I don't care what your rank is. I want you to drop where your points ended last month. They're secret, they're safe, I promise. But I want to know where your points in last month. Because here's the thing. If your team is always seeing you be perfect in your chats, if they are always seeing that you are on your phone 48 hours a day, which is absolutely not possible because you have to sleep. But if you are sending those messages all the time, then you guys, you are setting this example of perfection and you are showing them what they need to be doing, and that is not duplicatable. And so that is what I loved about these two chapters. And I love that they were like right beside each other because that comparison perfection trap really does play here. And I did this, like when I'm looking at y'all, I want to see where y'all's ranks are right now. Okay. So anyway, I love that part.
Can I say something really fast?
Yeah.
So I think when I started this whole thing, the few people that I knew that were in network marketing were very superficial, like had all the things done with cosmetic, always looked perfect. And like they tried to encompass this like attraction marketing. And so I remember for a long time, like being super hesitant to even get on my social media, especially my stories, because on a day to day, like I'm a stay-at-home mom. I look like this. My hair is greasy. I don't have makeup on. Like I'm working out, sweating, taking care of kids all day. And so for a long time, I felt like, oh, I don't really look attractive. So I can't really show up on my social media because that's not going to attract people. But the truth is, like John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And it's not about what we look like or how we show up. It's about showing that we truly have value to offer, that we are people of influence. And I think if we're consistently growing our leadership lids through personal development, level 1 recruitment, level 1 leadership, and duplication, like that shows in our social media. That confidence of leadership and influence will come through in our social media. It truly does not matter what we look like, how greasy our hair is, the fact that this is the same outfit I wore yesterday. Like those things are completely irrelevant in terms of attraction marketing.
In fact, they are more attractive. Like when you tell me that you make XYZ amount of money and you haven't changed your shirt in 3 days, I'm like, okay, I can do that. Please don't tell me that I have to get dressed every day. And you mentioned the leadership lid and personal development. And I saw Alicia's question in the chat about not feeling creative for your team right now. What if you just admitted a mistake that you've made to them today and how you overcame it? Like, why do you have to have this brilliant idea? Why can't we just take our own personal experiences or what we personally are reading or the video that we're watching and just share it with our team? Because I think that we think that leadership is this beautiful, creative 24 space where we have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And it is not that at all. And if you are any of us here, truly, you guys can fall in this trap. But if you are a newer leader and you are trying to raise up other leaders, do not assume that you have to be this like factor for them. In fact, like if you just share what you're doing, share the messages you're sending, share the video that you're on, send them quotes from this Zoom, that is more relatable. That is showing them and that goes into chapter 8 because it asks them what are the 3 questions he asks in chapter 8. Somebody might be able to find it faster than me. Here you go. It's on page 92. What gives me the greatest return? What is the most rewarding? And what is required of me? What is required of you is not to be creative. What is required of you is just to share what you're doing and learning with your team. And that will inspire them more than you having this like perfect post. So anyway, I wanted to mention that because I thought that was a really good a good thing that you brought up, Alicia. So thank you for that. Okay. I really loved, there's I think there's 5 steps that he shares in chapter 7. I love that he brings this point up. Has anybody ever felt like you had to hide your mistakes from your team? And yeah, I have felt that way. I have felt like that was a pressure to look a certain way or be a certain way. And that if I admitted to them that I did something wrong, it made me weak or less of a leader. And it does not, you guys. The only time that someone will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's telling me this, is if you have gone on the apology train once a quarter and said, I'm so sorry I've been absent from my business. It's been a heck of a week. And you do that once, and then about 3 or 4 months later, you're like, this has been a crazy, hectic season, but I'm back. That is the only time when people are gonna be like, eye roll, not effective. Okay. But otherwise, owning your mistakes and sharing them with your team are always effective. They already know. And I love that he said that on page 81. He said, what did he say? Oh my gosh.
I know exactly what he's saying. You assume that your
Read it.
people don't know your weaknesses.
Yes.
one?
What page was that on? Was it 81?
It's 81. Yeah, because I highlighted it.
Do you
'Cause
see it? Will you read it? Because I am not seeing it.
Yeah, he says can you guys hear me? Hold on.
Yeah.
It's on a blanket. It says you assume that your people don't know your weaknesses or that they don't see your mistakes. Trust me, they do. When you admit your mistakes, it's not a surprise to them, it's a reassurance. That's something that I'm like very passionate about, is like making people feel valid. And so I feel like that goes back to the whole listening chapter, but like it's not necessarily about you admitting your mistakes. It's like let people understand, like, too, just like validating their feelings too.
Totally. And I feel like, I don't know, and maybe this is not a good example, but it'd be like if my kid like lied to me and then she was like, she never admitted it, but I knew she lied and she knew she lied, but then it just creates distrust and then like a lack of respect in the relationship versus her just coming and being like, hey, Elise, I lied to you. It wasn't free shipping. It was actually $2 off your order, but I'm sorry. Okay. So like you would much rather me come to you and tell you that than you just like pretend it never happened. Because guess what? It happened and they know. And I love that. I wish I would have read that as a gold, knowing that I do not have to be perfect. Okay. I love that first one. Did anybody in particular love the second or the third one and want to share what you highlighted on those tips? On those little steps? That would be page 82, 83, 4.
I think we fail to take action because we're afraid of making mistakes. But the 4-H motto that I learned as a kid is learn by doing. And so, and I applied that to Plexus. And like he says on page 83, learn to fail fast, learn from my mistakes and move on. And that's what Justin noticed about the difference between he and I is he will sit on a idea for a little while and let it simmer and get some ideas going versus he goes, you will already have like messaged the people, implemented the thing, and then learn from it, pivoted, and then done it again by the time I even think about, taking action on something. And I had my in-laws here in the past couple of days, and my father-in-law used to be a contractor and work construction and stuff. And he was just expressing some frustration with some of his workers that he's doing a project with on my sister-in-law's deck, and like standing around, not doing anything, or brother-in-law is just like stewing over like what to do. And he's like, pick up the hand tools and let's get to work. But it's the same thing, like in a physical business and even like what we do in network marketing, like connecting with people or setting the coffee date or making the event for someone on your team, or even just asking. That's the other thing, is sometimes we think because we thought about it, we did it. And we need to and that's what I love, brain dumping, like get your stuff on paper so that, we're all busy moms, we're all busy with stuff. But when we do sit down to work our business, we can like hit the list and make sure that we do set the appointment. We do schedule the call, we do make the coffee date or whatever it is, right? To make sure it actually happens. And then I like that he says in the last little bit, it says, if you want to reach your potential as a leader, accept that mistakes are the price of progress. And so it's okay to make mistakes, but the failure would be if we don't learn from them. And I read a book about neuroplasticity, and it was really interesting. It's like in children specifically, but when they make a mistake, their brains will actually remember it better because they didn't do it right the first time. And so instead of shaming, and we probably have this programmed into us because as kids, maybe we were shamed when we made mistakes, but it's actually better for our brains to make the mistake and then understand how to do it correctly because it will remember it better.
Oh, y'all are so smart. And Katie and Megan, y'all have both hit on things that I really hoped we brought up, which is shame and then not being the expert, because that's not duplicatable. And I'm going to send y'all, remind me at the end of this, I have 2 podcasts I'm going to send y'all that y'all can listen to this week that talk about both of those things that have helped me through my journey. But anyway, that was, yes. Yes. How do y'all view failure? Because as you were talking, Megan, if you just drop in the chat, I'm just curious. When you fail, how does that make you feel? I know for me, I used to feel weak, but now I feel like I just knocked off one of the ways to accomplish something. And now I like only have 5 things I can go try instead of 6 ways I can go try to figure it out. Right. So I just like scratched off one way that obviously isn't the way to get the result that I want. But like, that was not how I started. And so if you will just drop in the chat, I would love to know, how do y'all, what's the word that describes you when you quote unquote fail? What else on either the second or the third one? Anybody else want to share on those? Not anybody else. Who wants to share on the second or third?
Jordan, you kind of already touched on this, but I did really like the quote on 84 where it says, good people are good because they have come to wisdom through failure. We get very little wisdom from just constant success. And I know for me, that has absolutely been the case. It wasn't until I was more aware and recognized some of my failures as a leader, and honestly, like as an ambassador, like just as an individual trying to grow from rank to rank. It wasn't until there was awareness around that I really did grow from those things. And so I tell people this all the time, that yes, there are some natural giftings that I have and natural strengths that I have that come very easy to me. But the majority of things that I do well in this business is from failing and then changing the way I do things. And that's with leadership. That's with things as simple as how I follow up, how I reach out to people, how I connect with people. I used to be very similar, Jordan, like you said earlier, where I would coach people assuming they had the same personality as me. And it just wasn't working. And it was like, what am I missing here? Like, why is this motivating to some, but not the others? I'm saying the same things. It's because I was not speaking their language. And so again, with that awareness, it changed the way I did things. And so all the good comes from doing it wrong or failing, so to speak, but it has produced a lot of beauty because of those failures.
Well, and I was going to, I'm glad you went back to that because I forgot to mention this earlier, but the first step is admitting the mistake. And then the second is learning from it. And so something I started doing after that was, y'all, I'm not a mind reader. Like I can try and figure out what Taylor's color personality is, but it's still I still don't relate to the way that she's motivated. Right. Like, and so there have been times where I'm like, Taylor, I don't understand what you need here. Can you tell me like what you need? Or can you just tell me like what motivates you? Because I'm trying to figure it out and I don't know. And so like, it's okay to just be vulnerable and ask those questions because you don't have to be the expert. You can ask that to your team. Right. And so anyway, I'm glad you brought that up again. Are you typically on 84? Are you typically the person that hesitates to avoid mistakes because you don't want to feel inferior? Or are you typically the person that makes the mistakes, learns from them so that you can eventually become superior? Do you typically shy away from trying things that are scary? Or do you typically do the thing that's scary so that you can learn? And you don't have to answer out loud. You can put it in the chat or you don't have to answer at all. But I just want to encourage you guys, if you are the first one, I want you to go make a list of things that are scary to you. Is it a live video? Is it reaching out for the business? Is it talking about money on social media? What is it? Because whatever it is, you need to go do it. And you need to go do a lot of it because your team needs to see you do a lot of it. Okay. Anybody else on those before we move on to 4 and 5 really quick? And then we're going to jump to the goal was a 30-minute call. So now it's going to be a 35-minute call. So anybody want to talk about 4 or 5?
I feel like with 4, I was really reminded of a lot of coaching calls that I've done with my leaders on my team. And it just made me like question a lot of those experiences that I've had with them. Like, was I understanding of their situation? Was I asking the right questions? Was I open to hearing their suggestions? Was I receptive of those suggestions? And like, did I implement those? And I feel like this is truly a mistake of mine. A lot of times I will just like steamroll people. I'm like, nope, I know what's best. I've done this before. I've got it. Like, I'm just going to take over because I know this is going to work and it's going to be the most effective. It's probably a lot to do with like my personality type and all those things. Jordan, I think you and I are very similar in that way. But it's like the times that and this is probably, something playing with my brain too. The times that I really have tried to implement those suggestions from the leaders on my team, like I've put them in place and then nobody shows up. Nobody contributes. Nobody helps out. And then I'm like, why am I considering other people's thoughts at this point or other people's suggestions if they're not even going to follow through? So that's been a tough part. And I feel like it probably always will be in leadership, is kind of how to navigate those conversations and be receptive of others. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or
I'm gonna be honest with you, I highlighted nothing on 4 because I didn't even understand what it was talking about.
That's what I got. Maybe somebody got something totally different. That's what I got from 4. Like, that's what was going through my brain the whole time. And so I highlighted, it's easy to make decisions based on what we know, but there are always things that we don't know. And so the question that we need to ask is, what are we missing? The fear of making mistakes keeps many individuals from reaching their potential. The fear of being honest with leaders about the potential problems of a course of action has hurt many teams. And the best leaders always invite the opinions of the people on their teams. That's the part that I was like, am I good at this? I don't think that I am. Like, I kind of suck at that. So I'm like, I know what's best. I've done this before. Just everyone be quiet and listen to me. This is how we're going to do it. Which is terrible, I know, but
I don't think that's terrible.
it's
But
tough.
I can relate to that. I think the way that I read it and related to it personally was, at one point, I felt like I had to know and implement and do every single thing so that I could be viewed as a very competent, that I had all the answers, so that people would think I'm a good leader. And so with the what am I missing comment, to me, I looked at that as how I changed course many years ago. And it was more like, here's what I have to offer. Jordan, take a look at this. What do you think? Do we need to add something here? Like, what am I missing that my natural giftings isn't seeing that could be a problem, or maybe something needs to be added to it or taken away? And so I see it more as like collaboration, like recognizing where your strengths are, where other people's strengths are, when you're bringing them in on something like leading a book study. Or when I did the Silver and Six series, like, I was specifically looking for people who had different strengths than me, because I couldn't do every single one of those videos at excellence, right? Because there's other people who are doing it better than me. And so for me, it's like that humility of realizing I don't have to be able to do and implement and have everything to be seen as a good leader. I have to offer my strengths. And that's what makes me a good leader, is offering what I do have. And so that's just kind of how I saw it, like bringing other people in.
The collaboration word is really good. Yeah. There you go. I didn't even think like, thank you, Tamara. This is why Tamara leads these and I get on because I literally read that and it was gibberish. So thank you both because I got 0. I was like, I don't even know how to talk about that one. So I was
What
gonna
does
skip
this
it.
mean?
So I'm glad y'all did it.
Yeah, and just to
Well-
go off of that, Tamara, another part I highlighted on 87 was many good minds working together are always better than just one working alone. So that just plays into that word collaboration that you said.
Yeah, I was just going
Yes.
to add to that. To
Go
me,
ahead.
when I read that, I think that's a perfect opportunity to show that you aren't the perfect leader, right? When someone brings something to you and you're like, I don't even know, like you say you're struggling, but I have no idea to help you with that. So what might that help look like? You know, is there something that you think that I could do? Because I'll be honest, I don't know how to help you with that. And then all of a sudden you're relatable because you don't have all the answers, and it gives you those opportunities to show people that. One question that I use with my team at my full-time job is, what in your job is harder than it should be? Right? Like people are like just kept butting their heads against it, and they're like, this shouldn't be that hard, but it is hard for me. I see other people doing it easily, and I feel like that translates to Plexus so easily of like, okay, what do you see other people doing that shouldn't be as hard as it is for you, and how can I help you with that? And you may not know the answer, but again, that gives you the opportunity to go, okay, but I know who is good at that, so let's see if we can get to so and so. And again, just offers that humility, collaboration, people to see you. Yes, what in your job is harder than it should be?
I love that, Ashley. And then it's literally the perfect segue into page 91 because at the very top it says instead they give people the training they need, step back and inspire them to do their best. Part of the training that people need from you, I don't care what rank you are, you could be day 2. People do not need you to give them the answers. I was not spoon-fed answers. And in fact, because I was not spoon-fed answers, it caused me to go search for them. And the people that go search for them become leaders because they know how to solve problems. And so if we are in the business of helping people, our teams specifically, learn how to solve problems, that's how you create leaders. And by doing that, Ashley, you were asking them questions, which makes them think. And so often they already know the answer. They just got to use their head. And I'm the exact same way. And sometimes I'll get frustrated. I'll like text my sponsor. I'll be like, okay, what's the answer to this? And she'll be like, go find it. I'm like, I don't want to go find it. I want you to tell me. And y'all, it's okay if they get an attitude. It's fine. They're going to go figure it out if they actually want the answer, or they're going to go find somebody who does. So I wanted to kind of, there's a lot in this chapter, but I wanted to wrap this call up with brainstorming some ideas here, especially as we go into this summer and schedules are tight, but we are not too busy to work our business. We are not too busy to hit a rank or 2 the next 60 days. Okay. So let's just, if that's your mindset, just go ahead and get that out the door. It's not the case. But what are some things that we can do to train our teams, step back and inspire them to do their best and not micromanage them? What are some things that we can be doing that really take the pressure off of us and put it more on them? I'm going to give you a couple of examples as y'all think. One of them is, what if in your team chat, whether there's 2 of you guys or 500, what if in your team chat, you're present, you're reading it, you're there, but you don't answer a single question for like 4 days. You only tag somebody else to answer it that you know is fully competent in answering that and they're newer. What if you only tag somebody else to give their response? Send a video because like Chandler mentioned, you're doing your personal development still every day. And because so you have this toolbox of YouTube videos that you can share with them. Okay. So you only have somebody else answer it, or you send a video to them and let them answer their own question. What would that do for your brain space and your time and your stress level? For me, it's just so freeing. I feel like I don't have to have the perfect answer anymore. Can y'all think of another example of how we might give people what they need, step back, and then inspire them to go figure it out?
So every time I hear this topic, I think of that quote give a man a fish and give him a meal for a day. Give a man a fishing pole and give him a meal for life, or whatever it is. And like,
Mhm.
that's so true. Something that we implemented a long time ago on our team, which I feel like we probably need to like refresh with as many new faces we have, is a conversation flow chart. I feel like just teaching people how to have a legit conversation with prospects is like one of the hardest things when they're first starting network marketing, because they don't know how to effectively communicate. They don't know how to ask questions and keep it about the other person. So I made like this really simple, like 5-step graphic, and I had my friend make it pretty. And so we could just like share it with all our new girls that are starting the biz. And it's been great. And so if they're like, hey, I'm stuck in a conversation, I'm just like, what step are you on? Not like send me 87 screenshots of your conversation. And it's just been a game changer because one, it checks them. So if they're like, oh shoot, I'm not using this flow chart, then they're like, oh, okay, hold on, let me go send the health checklist, or let me go send the gut health and happiness or the triplex video. But then two, it helps us as leaders identify exactly like where they're hung up. Is it an objection? Is it they haven't sent a third-party resource? Like, what is it? And I feel like that's been a game changer, and it's really gotten us away from like having to do 3-way chats all the time, which, as y'all know, will suck the time out of your day. If you're in 5 to 10 3-way conversations every day, like, it's a lot. So that's been really helpful on our team.
And a way that we've been able to how she implemented that was she not only made the graphic, she made a post about it on the team page that she can tag them in. And then we also have done training videos that are in the comments. People can go watch to learn how to use the steps, right? So it's not just this like one layer of a thing. It's like, here's literally everything you need to know. Enjoy, go do the work. What else can y'all think of as we enter the summer, some ways that we can equip our teams, empower our teams in particular, give them the steps, and then kind of step back and let them figure it out?
Well, something that comes to mind for me is like what we are just doing right now with the Slim Down Challenge is like we sort of set everything up, right? And message examples and power hour schedule. And it's like, here is everything that you need to help your people get into this challenge. This is how we use it with their post up. This is how we use it. Like all of those things. And now go do it, so like that's it. And there's time available to work with somebody if you can't work with me, like I can't get on a Zoom with you today, but somebody else is leading one today. So be available then and you can ask questions, kind of thing.
And then repeat, right? So it's like, okay, don't just make one post on the team page. We're going to make schedule. That's another way you could do it, you guys. Scheduling posts on your team page. Schedule a post every morning for 8 a.m. with the power hour schedule and a message idea to get somebody in your Slim Down. And you can do that ahead of time when you have the time, right? So that's another way is repeat, and then also scheduling things. What else can y'all think of? Anything else? Something that I don't know if you guys do team calls, but if you do not, I started doing calls for my team when I honestly probably when I was like senior gold or ruby. And it was once a month when I started. But you guys grab a teammate that's doing really well and let them lead this week. Let them go share what they're doing. Use a third-party tool, a Bob Heilig video or a Diamond documentary. Play it and then have a conversation about it with your team. I used to do that all the time when I was a gold. I was spending every waking moment I had trying to just duplicate and recruit. And so use those tools that are you don't have to be this like creative powerhouse to create this like, perfect slideshow to lead a team call for your team. Go use a resource you already have and then just have some questions ready for them. Kind of like we're doing now, right? With book study. Anybody want to share one more?
Yeah, I'll share. So,
okay.
Well, I just popped in the chat, but hosting events with sidelines. I'm just thinking of some of the people that are on the call or will listen to the replay that are maybe like not ranking gold right now or are in between that gold and senior gold rank. Hey, Abigail. Charlotte and Cindy Smock, their mom and sister teammates that have been doing like 4 Zoom opportunity events per week, or they were doing like a messenger event on Mondays and then funneling people into like 3 different options for events. And so the idea of collaboration is so helpful because you don't necessarily have to be on all of them, but you can funnel people in because you know that there's stuff being hosted. And so if you're in a season of wanting to really grow your business this summer, I would highly recommend getting events on the calendar, but also knowing that you can expand your opportunities with collaborating with others. So it's not just you trying to do all of it. And I think what Charlotte recognized was that she was kind of basically trying to grow her business with mostly DMs and mostly posts on Facebook. And so what she found is that she's having a really great return on investment. Like half of the people that show up on these calls are getting signed up. And so I just think it's fun to hear what people are doing that is working right now, and try it, even if it feels scary and you've never done one like that before.
I love it. Just try it. Just try it. Just go try it. Melissa, maybe you don't go try it right now because you know you're moving, and maybe give it like another month before you start trying random things that we're not sure if they work yet. But I'm gonna leave y'all with this one. It's on page 101. So at the very bottom of page 100, it says every leader is busy. The question for every leader is not will my calendar be full? It's who will fill my calendar. And at the very bottom of 101, it said you can't do everything, and choosing to do one thing means choosing not to do something else. I'm going to challenge you with a couple of things. If you can tell me what happened on the latest season of XYZ, but you haven't done your IPA yet, guys, I'm talking to myself. Okay, I watch Real Housewives of New Jersey, and I have for a very long time. Judge me if you want, but I need to stop doing that before I do my IPA because it's fun and relaxing. It's not really relaxing. It's actually really stressful, and there's a lot of cuss words, and it's not that great. But I'm just telling y'all, choose your time wisely. I need to do this myself. The other thing is, who is filling your time? Do you have a power partner? Do you have somebody that keeps you accountable or that you spit ideas off of? You guys, some power partnerships are not effective. If you are chatting with somebody via Marco Polo or Messenger and they are negative most of the time, and then y'all have not given each other an idea in a year, and it's all just bloop, 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 and there's no creativity and no positivity and no movement, then it's probably not the best partnership. You can still be their friend, but it might be time to find somebody else. Oh, my husband is now calling me. Send to voicemail. Almost done. So anyway, who is filling your time? Remember that is for power partnerships. That is, what are you spending your time on when you get onto a podcast? Is it something that is actually effective for you, or are you just like really into what's Colleen Hoover? I don't even know how to say her name. Like, great. If you're going to go read books outside of personal development, that's awesome, but you still need to get your stuff done. You need to get your stuff done. And don't tell me you don't have time. Anybody else have anything on that last little section, that like 100 to 101 before we hop off? Because we're over the time that I wanted to be.
No, I just want to say this is always such really good discussion, and I just really, really enjoy it.
I appreciate y'all.
You guys, don't forget to take a picture and mark it what we're doing, because people will be attracted to you growing and learning.
Oh, yeah. Okay, somebody take one and smile.
Everyone, turn your camera on and say cheese. I'll take
Me?
a pic. Everyone, camera
Oh,
on.
I thought you said Jordan. I was like, I think it has been on.
Camera's on. 1, 2, 3. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
I'm really proud of y'all. Like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I every time we get on these calls, I'm like, man, I really thought there'd be more people. But here's the thing: is you guys are the ones that are gonna be growing, and I love that you're choosing to do this. And so, and I would have given my right foot to learn from Megan and Tamara when I was a baby, and I still do because they're so wise. So anyway, yes, we'll share that picture with y'all and all the threads and things. Thank y'all for being on. We'll see y'all next week. And the last week is right before convention.
Yes. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.